What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with an updated Dragon Maid deck profile post Burst of Destiny, the brand new core set to release. And Dragon Maid, I think, got a really good support card in the form of Small World. It has a lot of really cool links in this deck that can help you have additional starters, which is something I feel Dragon Maid really needed because the deck really wants to play turn 1 more than a lot of other decks because it has so many support cards that need Dragon Maids in your hand, and that is one reason I think Small World is fantastic for this deck. And I'm just going to run through the main deck, the extra deck, and before we hop in, I do want to let you guys know that our Discord link is down below if you want to join our Discord. We're trying to grow the community there, and we want to do some like tournaments with subscribers and things like that. Just a matter of getting it all set up, but if that does sound interesting to you, Discord link down below, and without further ado, let's get into the Dragon Maid deck profile. So starting off, we do have our 3-chamber Dragon Maid, definitely the best starter of the deck. On summon, she gets to search for a Dragon Maid Spell or Trap, which we have so many we want to be searching. She's one of your 1-card starters to get into your Spheres combo because this is Dragon Maid, so our objective is to get to Spheres and Tidying turn 1, and she is just your 1-card starter to help you do that. And then to follow her up, we as well have our 3 Parlor Dragon Maid because she is the other 1-card starter in the deck. These are the cards you want to see turn 1, Parlor and Chamber, because they really get your deck going. And the cards you're going to be recycling the most, and we're going to maximize both of them to help the consistency of our Dragon Maid engine. And then we are actually running 2 Kitchen in this list. Some people don't like Kitchen, but especially with the addition of Small World in the deck, I feel like Kitchen is a mandatory 2 of. I think 1 was the most popular for the pure builds before. However, I do think 2 Kitchen is warranted for a couple of different reasons. She's not a 1-card starter, but if you open her and like any extender or hospitality, it is still full combo, which is very, very nice. So we are not maximizing, but we do have 2 Kitchen. And then lastly, we have the 1 Nurse, which is very, very important for Sphere mode, or not Sphere mode, Heavenly Spheres in particular, because you're going to special summon her, and she's going to special summon 1 from your grave, and that helps get 2 Dragon Maid monsters on the field. And this deck is all about follow-up and just making sure you're just going to outgrind your opponent with resources with the help of Spheres and all of your Dragon Maid effects, and the 1 Nurse is very, very good at that because recycling her is just recycling another +1. And that wraps it up for the Dragon Maid monsters, or at least the little Dragon Maid monsters. We do play some big dragons in the form of 1 Ernest, 1 Tinkek, and 1 Lorpar. So these are sort of cards you just have to play. They are sort of bricks turn 1, but you have to play them for a couple of reasons. They're your big dragons to fusion summon with Changeover, as well as being just ways to get pluses off of your Dragon Maid monsters. It is so good when you can just like enter the battle phase, proc your Dragon Maid effects to bounce to hand, and then summon these big beat sticks because it gives you a lot of damage, it gives you a lot of flexibility in your plays, it can proc house. And yeah, all of these big dragons actually have some pretty neat uses, like Lorpar can bait interruptions, Ernest can be an extender or a battle trap, and Tinkek is my personal favorite because he can help you out things you shouldn't be able to out with the 2k Honest he provides. I know like normal case you can mention is the Arrival Cyburst. Tinkek helps you get over him. Like if he's 5k unaffected, you can still make Sheo, swing with Tinkek, make Sheo 5500, and then you're outing the Arrival Cyburst, and that's very, very cool. So Tinkek is my favorite of the 3, but you do need to play 2 to 3 of the big dragons. Next up, a new addition from my previous list, but something I have played in the past before, 2 Noctovision. So Noctovision Dragon is actually one of the most important cards in the deck, not only as an extender to make Spheres and get you additional draws, but it is for Small World, and I'll explain the links once I get to Small World. I'll show you guys what you actually can link to in this deck, but Noctovision is the key to get any single card in your deck through Small World, and that makes him so important, and we are going to be playing him at 2 because he is an extender for Spheres, and he is a level 5 or higher dragon, which makes Changeover able to use him to make Sheo. So very, very, important card for both of your boss monsters, as well as he has a cool grave effect that can protect your back row, so if they like try to, Cosmic Cyclone your face down Tidying before they summon a monster, you can protect it with Noctovision, which is very important to remember, but he is a very key piece for our Small World. Alright, so next up we have our hand traps, which are going to be performing a bunch of different tasks in this list, which make them much more important than just being hand traps and go second cards. We are running 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion, 2 Effect Veiler, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. So Yes, so to kind of explain what these cards are doing, because they're doing a lot, the Ghost Girls are beyond important for this deck because of their defense stat. as a target again for Small World. And they're really important for, as well, we are running Crossout Designator, which I'll explain more when I get to Crossout why we're running it. But these are the hand traps that affect our deck the most, because hand traps actually hurt this deck a lot in more than one way. Like Ash can hurt us both on our turn and our opponent's turn if they happen to top deck it. And these are just really good go second cards because they're not like... I've tested Dark Ruler in the deck, but when you're going first, Dark Ruler is really tough, and you really want to have playable cards going first in Dragon Maid, and hand traps are good going first or second because, you know, they're going to do something on your opponent's turn, even if you draw them going first, as opposed to a card like Dark Ruler that's going to do nothing until your second turn, essentially. So, Imperm is probably just the best hand traps. These stop Floowandereeze the most. Going into the next meta, I think these hand traps are very, very good. And yeah, these are not only, you know, good go second cards, but they are also Crossout Designator targets to help your plays go off, as well as Small World targets to make sure you get to your play. So these hand traps, well, the monsters in this case, for Small World, are really helping the consistency of the deck as well as being good go second cards. So they're some of the most important cards of the deck, and we are just running essentially 9 go second hand traps. Next up on to spells, we have 3 Pot of Prosperity. This card is insane for finding a play because Dragon Maid, you're running 9 Dragon Maid monsters and you really, really want to see one opening turn. If you've played Dragon Maid before and you're like a veteran with the deck, you know that if you don't see a Dragon Maid monster, your hands are very, very bad because there are usually cards like Hospitality or Tidying that really want you to have a play, or they're the big dragons that sort of needed you to have a Dragon Maid to be useful as well. So seeing a Dragon Maid monster is very, very vital, and that's why we are maximizing a consistency card like Prosperity to help find our Dragon Maids, or cards that help protect our Dragon Maids like Crossout Designator in the situation that we already have one. If you do not have Prosperity, because it is quite an expensive card, you can substitute for Extravagance. If you don't have Extravagance, you can run other cards like Upstart Goblin, and just whatever consistency cards you have access to. Alright, next up, the brand new card from Burst of Destiny, 3 Small World. So Small World is, I think, phenomenal in this deck because it's going to help you see a play. If you don't know what the card does, I will go over it very quickly. So it says, reveal one monster in your hand, choose one monster from your deck that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense. Defense is very important in this case. And then it has to have exactly one of those types, which is the kicker. Then you show a monster from your deck, and then you have to match to another monster with exactly one of the type you show from the deck. And I think it'll make more sense when I actually go over the links, but that is what the effect does. This card is going to help you see your play first turn, which is very, very important because any monster in your deck can essentially link to Chamber or Parlor, which is very, very nice. I do think there's a chance that 3 of this card is too much, because if you already open a play, Small World's almost dead. You can actually use Small World to find a hand trap, which is very cool, but unless your play gets interrupted, this is normally not going to be that great. But you use it to see a play first turn, and that's why we're maximizing it, because it essentially means we have 12 Dragon Maid monsters, which Prosperity can find, which is very, very nice. And being able to search Noctovision or a hand trap is also a cool thing this card can do. To go over some of the links that Small World has, because that is a big part of this card and what people most likely want to know what we're doing with Small World. So say we open Ash Blossom. We'll use Ash Blossom as one of the ways to get there. Then there is Effect Veiler. And then there is, of course, Noctovision. So the important thing to see with like these type of cards is these aren't plays turn 1, right? Like these are good cards, but we need to see a Chamber or a Parlor to make sure we have our first turn play. And the very key thing to note is Noctovision has 0 attack. I wish my camera would focus, but yeah, Noctovision has 0 attack, and all the Ghost Girls have 0 attack, as well as Effect Veiler, and all the Ghost Girls have 1800 defense, which our Chamber Dragon Maid also happens to have, which is very, very good. So, keeping that in mind, if we open Noctovision, Noctovision can tag to Ash Blossom because they both share exactly 0 attack and nothing else. And then Ash Blossom can go into our Chamber Dragon Maid because she has 1800 defense, and that is the only attribute these cards share. So Noctovision can turn into Ash Blossom, which can turn into Chamber. And then if you open the Ash Blossom, you can search into Noctovision because, again, they share 0 attack. And then you can search Parlor Dragon Maid because Parlor is a dragon monster and that's the only thing they share actually, is the fact that they're dragons, because they don't have the same stats or attribute or level. He cannot search Chamber, however, if you do happen to open a hand trap, because he is dark as well as Chamber. So you do get a 1-card starter no matter what, but yeah, it's just, you know, you can't search Chamber every time because Nocto is dark. But the 0 attack and the 1800 defense thing means pretty much anything can kind of get to Chamber. Like, if you open a big dragon, your big dragons can go to Nocto, which can go to Parlor, as long as it was a level 8 dragon. The level 7 dragon cannot hit Nocto. But yeah, you can see that these cards, or I guess I should mention why Valor's here. Valor also has 0 attack, so 0 attack can match into Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and then you can get Chamber that way. There's another thing to mention. So yeah, all these cards with Small World help you get into Chamber or Parlor, which is your play, and that is what makes Small World such a fantastic card in this deck, because it is going to get your starter, and that matters a lot. Alright, following that up, we have our 3 Hospitality and our 1 Changeover. So, I've played 2 Changeover in the past, I've also played 2 Hospitality in the past. This is the ratio I'm running right now. I think you run like 4 Dragon Maid spell cards in any ratio of like 3 and 1 or like 2 and 2. You only need 1 Changeover, it recycles itself, and this is why we're running this ratio. Alright, to finish up the spells, we have 2 Crossout Designator and 1 Called by the Grave. So, the crossouts might seem a little weird in this deck because we're not like a combo deck, right? Like, why are we so afraid of hand traps to the point where we have to play Crossout Designator? And there's a couple reasons. Our deck is actually extremely weak to hand traps because we have very slow, like, 1-card starter plays. Like, Chamber, if she resolves, we get to our spheres, but if she doesn't resolve, we're sitting on, essentially, Hope We Drew Tidying and we have a bounce. So, Designator really helps you make sure you get to spheres, but also if you set it after making spheres, because they didn't hand trap you and they like top deck an Ash, when you use spheres and then you use its effect to special from deck and they Ash you, that's actually a very important part for you, because if they Ash the spheres, then your Tidying is dead, so you need to protect your spheres there as well. So Crossout Designator is a fantastic card for protecting our spheres and our play, and it can also save our spheres from Called by the Grave, which is very, very nice, because that is just the killer of this deck. And that's also another reason we're running Bell, is to save our spheres from Called by the Grave. But also what's really nice is, since you're maining this, it's not a card I would ever side, so since you're maining it, you can actually side cards like Dark Ruler and Droplets, and then use this card as sort of a protection piece for those when you're going first. You can side in like 1 Dark Ruler, 1 Droplets. It's very nice, very cheeky, but it protects your spheres and your Sheo more importantly. But yeah, so that is the reason for Crossout Designator, and then Called By is just like one of the best cards in the game and saves you from hand traps, so that one's a no-brainer, and this is what wraps up our spell count. Then on to traps, we of course have our 3 Tidying, just like the best trap in the deck, and of course we're going to maximize it, and then 1 Downtime. And Downtime, I think people highly underestimate this card, and I did originally too. If you look at my first place deck list that I uploaded a couple months ago, I wasn't running Downtime, and I just didn't have enough testing with the card. But after testing with the card, I think it's absolutely insane. It just lets you dodge so many things, as well as outgrind almost any deck. Like, being able to dodge Valors and Imperms with this when you're in, like, the grind game is very nice. Being able to search any cards you want is very, very good. It's just like, if you already open Tidying especially, then you want to search something with Chamber. And, like, you already have a play. Like, if you have everything you need and you can just search Downtime, it's very, very good. But it also helps you in, like, the back row matchup, which is very nice. And I think Downtime is a phenomenal card that gets really underestimated. And I definitely think it's a staple one of in all of my Dragon Maid lists going forward. Alright, that wraps it up for the main deck. On to the extra deck, and I will say the extra deck for this deck, you have a lot of room, because the extra deck is not super important. You really just want spheres, Sheo, House, so you get a lot of flex spots to, like, decide what you want to play. You can run, like, Maximus targets, Super Poly targets, or really niche, like, things that could come up, like Zeus, and just whatever you want. But the main cards are the 3 spheres. You definitely want to maximize 3 of this, because you will go into it every single turn. And I've made 3 quite often. Most games end with you just making 2, but 3 is definitely there just in case. And we are running Prosperity in the situation where we have to banish one. We can banish the spheres over something else. So before moving on to the next card in the extra deck, I do want to mention why Spheres Tidying is called the FTK. It's kind of a joke if you're not in the know of it. It's essentially because, like, in Tri-Brigade meta especially, I mean, I guess we're still kind of in Tri-Brigade meta, but when Tri-Brigade was super popular before Burst of Destiny especially, essentially 2 bounces was the end of almost any deck in the meta. Like, summon Cat, bounce it, and then pitch you know, kit for Kerass, and then you bounce the Kerass, and essentially the Tri-Brigade player is passing because they're just, they get 2 hand traps or 2 forms of interruption, and Sphere's Tidying with all the follow-up it provides was essentially the FTK. I mean, it's kind of a joke, it's not obviously an FTK, but it's what we call it, so yeah, I mean, that's what the Sphere's Tidying FTK essentially is. Then we have the 1 Striker Dragon, because it makes your Dragon Maids 1-card starters, and the 1 Boral Sword to wrap up the links, because I mean, this can help us end the game. We don't actually do a lot of damage except with our main deck monsters and Sheo, so having those help end the game is very, very important. Then we have the 2 House Dragon Maid and the 2 Sheo. If you are playing Extravagance, you're going to want to bump both of these up to 3 because they're both necessities. Like, one cannot really exist well without the other, to be honest. I mean, I guess House can, but House is just generally a lot weaker than Sheo. Sheo is one of the most insane cards in the game, in my opinion, like as an Omni Negate goes, because it is so much in one card. It brings back your Dragon Maids for follow-up, and then when it negates a card, not only does it negate the card, but it brings out House, who is going to end up popping things because of your other Dragon Maids. It's a powerhouse of a card, and you really want to protect it from things like droplets and Dark Ruler, which is what I mentioned with the Designator earlier, because they're really the only things that hurt this card. Such an absolutely insane boss monster, and yeah, we are running 2 of each of those. And then I'm running Super Poly in the side deck currently, so my extra deck is going to have Super Poly targets, but again, these can be, you know, you can make Exeses and then run Zeus, or you can run Maximus targets, whatever you want to fit in this slot. You can run Pisty. I definitely highly recommend Pisty, but I do not have one on me. So I have the Starving Venom, the Mud Dragon, the Trifio Verdum, the El Shaddoll Construct in case we play the pesky Shaddoll matchup, and they try to stop us from making spheres. 1 Eldritch the Mad Golden Lord, I have a lot of Eldritch at my locals, and then 1 of this really cool card, I think his name is Mysterion, if I could see him. Yes, he takes a Spellcaster and a Dragon Monster, which is very nice because it means we can summon Chamber, use her effect, and then, you know, Super Poly a Dragoon. So that's very, very nice, and that is going to wrap it up for the extra deck. And yeah, that is the Dragon Maid deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this deck is just so fun for me because I really love the Dragon Maids, and I especially love their artwork. I think it's so cool because, you know, there is that one anime that many of you have probably watched, and yeah, I mean, that's what the Dragon Maids are based off of. It is a very cool archetype, and it does kind of do the same thing every time. It just wants to get to Spheres Tidying, the FTK. But yeah, I mean, that's what the deck does, and it does it very well. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a comment down below. Let me know which of the Dragon Maids is your favorite, because I know that's a big point of contention. You know, who is best Dragon Maid girl, right? So, yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. This was Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Like, subscribe. Bye, YouTube.